ChatGPT said. The galaxy was old, filled with thousands of races, each bound together under the rule of the Galactic Council. They had lived in power for so long that arrogance had become their nature. They believed no new race could rise strong enough to challenge them. Their fleets were massive, their weapons unmatched. Their laws feared across the stars. To them, the galaxy was theirs alone. Among the stars was a small blue planet, spinning quietly on the edge of a spiral arm. The planet was called Earth to the Council. Earth was nothing. Just another primitive world of noisy creatures who fought too much and dreamed too big. The Council marked it as unimportant, a backwater place unworthy of attention. They did not know that silence was a choice on Earth. Humanity had grown in secret. For centuries, humans advanced quietly, hiding their strength. They learned from signals caught drifting in space. They studied fragments of alien technology lost in the void. They worked together in hidden stations orbiting far from watchful eyes. No council ship dared to come close, and that mistake gave humanity time. The Council's arrogance blinded them. When reports came of strange signals near Earth, they laughed. Some junior officers warned that humans might be more advanced than expected. But the High Council silenced them, they said. These creatures burn their own forests and poison their own oceans. How could they ever rise among the stars? The Chamber of Leaders laughed, dismissing Earth like dust under their feet. Yet whispers began to spread. A scout ship, small but swift, was sent to circle Earth. Its captain was arrogant, sending messages back to the Council that the world was weak. He mocked human defenses, calling their satellites toys, but then the signal ended. No distress call, no trace. The ship vanished without a sound. The Council grew annoyed, not afraid. It must be pirates, they declared, or engine failure. They refused to believe humans had anything to do with it. Their pride would not allow such a thought. But somewhere deep in the Council's archives, a quiet note was written. Earth may not be as weak as we believe. No one paid attention to it. On Earth, leaders stood in silence. They had intercepted the scout. They had tested their first stealth fleet. Hidden in the shadow of the moon, the ship was gone, erased from the stars. Humanity did not celebrate, they only watched, waiting for the Council's next move, for they knew it would come. The people of Earth did not see themselves as conquerors, but they had lived too long under the shadow of being ignored. Humanity had suffered wars, hunger, and endless struggles, yet each time they survived, they grew stronger. They built ships not just with steel, but with will in secret shipyards orbiting Saturn. Enormous vessels were being completed. Warships like none the galaxy had seen. Still, to the galaxy, Earth was quiet. There were no broadcasts. No warnings, no calls for help, just silence. The kind of silence that made some curious and others dismissive, and that was the way humanity wanted it. The less the Council noticed, the longer they had to prepare. But silence cannot last forever in the void beyond Mars. Council sensors caught shadows moving. They called them anomalies, mistakes in the data. Their machines said it was nothing but dust and rocks. Yet sometimes those shadows followed patrol routes. Sometimes they vanished when looked at too closely. The Council laughed at it all. They believed no primitive race could ever hide such power. They forgot that arrogance blinds even the mightiest empire. And so the galaxy moved on, its rulers unaware of the storm growing on that quiet blue planet. The storm of a species that never gave up, a species that turned silence into their sharpest weapon. Humanity was waiting, listening, preparing. When the Council finally came, they would not find weakness. They would find warships rising from the darkness of space. They would find Earth no longer silent. They would learn that silence was only the beginning. And in the shadows of the moon, a hidden fleet powered up its engines for the first time, silent as the grave, waiting for the Council to make their mistake. For when arrogance meets patience, destruction is never far behind. The Galactic Council stood in its grand chamber, a place built of crystal and light, where voices of 1,000 worlds echoed together. The walls glowed with history, every panel telling stories of victories long past. Here the Council had ruled for ages. Here arrogance had grown fat. The silence from Earth was still spoken of in whispers. One scout ship gone, no answer, no trace. Some younger officers felt unease. They argued for caution. They suggested sending more spies first. But the elders of the Council laughed. Do you fear shadows? One of them sneered. These humans are simple beasts who play with fire and stone. Nothing more. Pride is louder than reason, and pride was all the Council knew. They voted not for caution but for punishment. A single fleet was dispatched, 50 ships strong, armored with shields that had crushed rebellion after rebellion. To the Council, this was mercy. They believed 50 ships would be more than enough to make Earth kneel. On Earth, the silence continued. Leaders met in hidden rooms, screens glowing with reports. They already knew the Council fleet was coming. Human sensors had tracked it before the Council even made their announcement. Ships moved quietly from hidden bases. Fleets powered down their engines to stay invisible. Humanity would not speak. Humanity would act across the solar system. Tension grew in the asteroid belt. Mining stations shut down. Their workers watching the stars with fear. On Mars, colonists whispered prayers, knowing they were the first line of defense if war came too soon. But in the deep black, warships of Earth waited. Weapons armed, crews silent. Their orders were clear. No mercy if the Council crossed the line. The Council fleet entered the edge of the system with banners bright. Their commanders broadcast arrogant messages across human frequencies. People of Earth, surrender your world. Lay down your weapons. Serve the Council as all others do. Their words dripped with scorn, mocking the silence they received in return. Earth did not answer. The fleet grew restless. They fear us, the Council commander said with a grin. They hide like frightened animals. His officers laughed, their voices echoing through their ships. To them, this was already a victory. But in the shadows of the moon, human fleets stirred. 100 ships powered up, cloaked in silence, their black hulls hidden against the darkness of space. Their weapons were cold fire waiting to be lit. The men and women inside held their breath, watching, waiting. Every heartbeat felt like thunder. The Council commander, eager for glory, ordered his fleet closer. Their ships burned brightly as they neared Earth. Weapons armed, their shields glowed like suns. Proud and strong, he prepared to broadcast once more, demanding surrender. But his words never reached the humans, for at that moment the silence broke. From the far side of the moon, shadows moved. Human warships uncloaked like hunters, revealing their teeth. Their engines roared to life. The stars lit with sudden fury. Beams of light cut through space. Rail cannons spat fire. Missiles streaked faster than the eye could follow. The first Council ship shattered before it even raised its defenses. A second split apart in a rain of burning metal. Alarms screamed across the fleet as commanders shouted in disbelief. Shields down? How? How can their weapons cut through? The humans did not answer, they only fired, silent and precise. Every shot was chosen. Every strike meant to humiliate. The Council fleet was powerful, but it was slow, it was built on pride. Not preparation, and against Earth's fury, pride was nothing. One Council officer screamed into his communicator, "It is impossible. Primitive worlds cannot do this." But his voice was lost as his ship tore apart in a storm of railgun fire. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the once proud Council fleet was wreckage burning in orbit. Only a handful of ships escaped, fleeing in terror, their commanders too shocked to even look back. On Earth, silence returned. The humans did not celebrate. They did not shout their victory. They simply powered down their fleets and vanished once more into the dark. For them, the war had only begun. But for the Council, the wound was deep. Survivors crawled back to their homeworlds, their voices trembling with fear. They spoke of humans who fought with weapons unseen. They spoke of ships that moved like shadows, striking with deadly precision in the Council chambers. Panic rippled, but pride fought back. The leaders refused to believe. It was luck, they declared. Nothing more, a trick of technology. A single battle means nothing against the might of the Council. Their arrogance was louder than truth, and so they planned their revenge. They would not send 50 ships again. No, they would send thousands. An armada so vast it could crush any defiance. The humans would learn their place. The galaxy would remember who ruled, yet deep inside fear lingered. The Council did not know the truth. They did not understand that humanity had been preparing for centuries, studying, building, waiting for this very moment. They thought Earth was weak, but they had only seen the surface of what humans could do. And in the shadows of space, hidden near Saturn, a greater fleet of humanity was waiting, silent as ever, its weapons more terrible than the Council had yet dreamed. Humanity's silence was not fear, it was patience, the kind of patience that destroys empires. The Council survivors limped back to their homeworlds with broken ships and broken pride. Their reports spread like fire through the galaxy. Stories of a hidden fleet on Earth. Stories of weapons that tore through shields once thought indestructible. The council chambers filled with noise, leaders shouting over one another. Some demanded war at once, others called the stories lies. How can primitives build such ships? They sneered, yet beneath their denial, fear twisted like a shadow. The council high commander stood tall before them. His voice boomed across the chamber. One fleet lost does not mean defeat. We are the council. We are eternal. We will crush these humans and remind the stars of our power. The chamber erupted with cheers, but unease clung to their voices. Another fleet was sent, larger than the first. Their ships moved in perfect formation, banners blazing with the pride of 1,000 conquered worlds. They carried messages of surrender once more. Their plan was simple: frighten the humans into obedience. On Earth, silence remained. The leaders did not answer the calls. Instead, deep within command centers buried beneath mountains, generals and scientists studied the enemy fleet. They watched every movement, measured every formation. Every council ship was a puzzle piece. Every tactic a weakness waiting to be cut open. Humanity would not speak with words. Humanity would speak with fire. The fleet arrived near Earth. Its commander, a proud lord of the council, broadcast his voice across human channels. Earth, your silence ends now. Kneel before the council. Submit your fleets, surrender your planet. We offer you mercy before destruction. His words echoed with arrogance, but the humans gave him nothing. The silence stretched, pressing like a weight. His officers shifted nervously. Perhaps they prepare to answer, one said. Perhaps they hide, another muttered. But the commander laughed. They are frightened. They cannot face us. In moments they will beg. Then the silence broke, not with words but with action. From the dark side of the moon, shadows emerged again. This time, more ships than before. They slid into view like predators, their black hulls drinking the light of the stars. Engines roared, railguns hummed, missiles locked onto targets. The council fleet turned in panic. Shields up! Commanders screamed. But the humans were faster. The first volley tore through their front line, shattering ships before their shields could even rise. A burning wreck spun through space, splitting in two as human weapons ripped its core apart. The council commander's voice filled the comms. Fire back! Crush them! Beams of energy lashed across the void. Explosions lit the dark. The humans did not fight like the council. They did not form slow lines of battle. They struck like hunters, vanishing and reappearing, attacking from the blind spots. Their ships moved with a deadly rhythm, every strike chosen to break the council's pride. One council officer screamed as a human frigate cut across their shields, firing point-blank rail slugs into their engines. Impossible! Their weapons pierce everything. His words were drowned as his ship broke apart in a storm of fire. In orbit, the Earth glowed below, blue and green and silent. Humanity did not broadcast, humanity did not mock. They fought with discipline born from centuries of survival. Every battle was not just for victory, but for a warning. The council would never break them. The council commander raged. His fleet fired wildly, beams scattering across the black. But for every human ship they struck, 3 more rose from the shadows. From hidden stations, from dark fields near asteroids, humanity revealed its secret might. The battle was not just a fight, it was a message. The council's fleet cracked, ships exploding like stars one after another. The commander realized too late that he had walked into a trap. Humanity had known they would come. They had waited for them, prepared for them, and now pride turned into terror. A desperate order rang out. Retreat! Retreat! But retreat was no salvation, human warships pursued, cutting down fleeing ships with ruthless precision. Engines burned, hulls shattered, escape pods scattered like sparks in the void. The commander's flagship shook as fire tore through its shields. His officers begged him to flee, but pride chained him to his chair. I will not run from animals, he shouted. His words turned to silence as the flagship erupted, a burst of flame swallowed by the black. When the battle ended, wreckage drifted across space. Pieces of proud council ships turned into tombs. Only a handful of survivors managed to escape, fleeing toward the stars, carrying with them a new tale. Earth was no longer silent. Earth was death on Earth. The people did not cheer. They mourned their losses. But they stood taller for the first time. The council had looked directly at them. And for the first time, the council had bled in the halls of power. Human leaders spoke quietly. This was not the end. The council will come again, stronger. They will not forgive this humiliation. The generals nodded. Eyes grim, humanity knew what was coming. The council would not stop until Earth was ashes. But in the dark, hidden far from the council's sight, new fleets were being built, ships larger, stronger, deadlier, weapons that could tear apart even the greatest of armadas. Humanity's silence had ended, their fire had begun, and across the galaxy whispers spread, whispers of humans who fought like shadows, whispers of a small world that had humbled giants, whispers that made even the proudest rulers afraid. The council would return with vengeance, but when they did, they would find that Earth had only begun to reveal its strength. The wreckage of the council fleet still floated in the black void, twisted metal turning slowly in silence. For weeks, the debris drifted near Earth's orbit, a reminder of what had happened. Alien probes recorded it. Smugglers whispered about it, and across the galaxy the story spread faster than light. The proud council had been defeated not once, but twice. Whispers began to stir in hidden places. On distant planets, slaves under council rule asked one another in quiet voices, "Is it true? Did a primitive world destroy them?" Traitors carried the rumor in secret codes. Rebels dreamed of freedom. The name of Earth became dangerous, spoken in fear and hope alike. But in the grand halls of the council, fear was disguised as anger. The High Council met again, their voices sharp, their faces burned with shame. Some demanded to crush Earth at once. Others insisted it was nothing but chance. "They cannot fight us forever," said one elder. "A tiny world cannot stand against the stars." His words were bold, but his eyes betrayed doubt. The survivors of the Second Fleet stood before the council, their armor scorched, their voices trembling. They spoke of shadows moving like hunters, of weapons that shattered shields, of humans who fought with silence instead of pride. Their words filled the chamber, and for the first time, the leaders of the galaxy felt something they had not felt in centuries: unease. Still, pride is louder than fear. The council declared the defeats accidents. They told their people the humans had used tricks, stolen technology, nothing more. They promised vengeance. They promised that soon the galaxy would forget Earth's defiance, but the whispers did not stop. On Earth, the leaders watched carefully. They knew the council would come again. Bigger and stronger, the humans did not celebrate. They did not reveal themselves, they remained silent. But their silence was no longer hidden weakness, it was power. In secret shipyards orbiting Saturn, construction never slept. Workers moved through endless corridors of steel, welding and shaping giants, ships larger than any seen before, hulls black as the void, bristling with weapons. These ships were humanity's true answer, not just fleets but symbols. They named the project in hushed voices, Black Sun. Black Sun was not just a fleet, it was a promise of survival. It was humanity's declaration that they would never bow. Each warship was armed with weapons built from both human genius and stolen alien science. Rail cannons that could split mountains, plasma beams that burned like suns, stealth fields that made ships vanish in darkness. The council had not even seen the worst yet. Among the people of Earth, fear mixed with determination. News of the battles was not broadcast publicly, but rumors always slipped through. Miners on Mars spoke of wreckage drifting past, pieces of council ships burned by rail slugs. Families on Earth whispered that their children would one day see stars without the shadow of the council. Soldiers trained harder, knowing the true war had yet to come. Meanwhile, in deep space, council spies moved quietly, disguised as traitors. They listened to the silence of Earth. They watched the strange shadows near Saturn. They reported back in fear. "They are building something enormous," one whispered across encrypted channels. "If they finish, the council will face a storm unlike any before." But the High Council ignored their warnings. Their pride was a wall too tall for truth to climb. "They are insects," the elder said, "and insects may bite, but they are crushed in the end." They prepared an armada, vast beyond imagination. Thousands of ships pulled from every corner of the galaxy. Titans of war gathered to end Earth once and for all. Still, whispers spread. On alien worlds far from the center, hope stirred. "If humans can stand," they said, "perhaps we can too." Some rebel cells lit their banners in secret caves. Some alien leaders sent hidden messages to Earth, promises of future alliance. They were cautious, afraid. But the seed had been planted. Back on Earth, the silence thickened. Leaders knew the storm was coming. They spoke of sacrifice, of courage, of patience. Humanity had always survived the impossible. This time would be no different. The Black Sun fleet neared completion, engines tested in silence, weapons fired in empty space far from prying eyes. A young commander on one of the new warships stood in awe, staring at the massive railgun mounted on its hull. "One shot," he whispered, "and a Council capital ship will fall." His words carried no arrogance, only cold truth. Humans had no need for pride. Their strength was in patience, precision, and survival. And so the galaxy shifted. Silent Earth became a storm-gathering strength. The Council, blind in its pride, prepared to march with fire and fury. But across the stars, in the quiet corners of empires, the whispers grew louder. Whispers that said the age of the Council was ending. Whispers that said the age of humanity was beginning. And in the cold dark beyond Saturn, a fleet waited, hidden in shadows, its engines humming like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. When it awoke, the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy trembled as the Council prepared its answer. Never before had such a fleet been gathered. From every corner of their empire, warships were pulled from patrols, rebellions, and colonies. They left entire sectors unguarded just to prove their power. The armada was endless, stretching across the stars like a wall of fire. Thousands of battleships, cruisers, and carriers moved in perfect formation. Each one carried the pride of a conquered world, banners glowing, cannons ready. It was not just a fleet, it was a statement. The Council was eternal, and those who defied it would be erased. The galaxy watched in silence, planets whispered prayers, smugglers hid their ships, rebels held their breath. Even the strongest alien rulers bowed their heads, for no one had ever stood against such a storm. On Earth, the alarms rang. Human leaders had expected this moment. They saw the endless fleet moving closer, recorded by hidden probes. They knew the Council would throw everything at them. Humanity stood at a crossroads, bow or burn, but humanity did not bow. Instead, they prepared, across the solar system. Every colony braced for war. On Mars, soldiers drilled in dust storms, training to fight and die if the fleet reached them. On the Moon, hidden silos opened, revealing missiles designed to tear through shields. In the shipyards of Saturn, the project called Black Sun roared to life. One by one, the warships emerged from their docks, vast black silhouettes sliding into the void. Their hulls gleamed with alien alloys fused with human invention, railguns longer than skyscrapers, plasma lances burning white-hot, stealth fields that bent the very light. The Black Sun fleet was smaller than the Council's storm, but it was sharper. It was a blade forged in silence. The two forces met near Jupiter. The gas giant loomed, storms swirling across its surface, lightning flashing in endless clouds. It was the perfect battleground, wide, open, and merciless. The Council armada entered with thunder. Their banners lit the black. Their commanders laughed as they prepared speeches of victory. "This battle will end before it begins," one said. Pride filled their words, they had no doubt. But humanity was waiting. The Black Sun fleet powered up its engines, hundreds of ships emerging from the shadows of Jupiter's moons. Their weapons hummed, their crews silent. This was no place for speeches, this was the place for survival. The battle began in a storm of fire. The Council opened with a barrage, beams of energy raining down like suns. Missiles streaked across space, explosions ripped through the dark. Entire asteroids shattered under the assault. Human ships vanished into stealth. Slipping through the storm, then they struck, railguns roared, piercing through the Council's front lines. Massive cruisers split apart in seconds. Dreadnoughts that had stood for centuries cracked open like glass. The Council reeled, their shields faltered. Their formations broke. Jupiter's orbit became a graveyard. Wreckage spun in all directions. Human ships moved like shadows, striking from behind, vanishing before counterfire could land. The Council commanders screamed for order. But panic spread like fire, yet the battle was not easy. Humanity fought with courage, but the Council's numbers were overwhelming. For every Council ship destroyed, more pushed forward. Human frigates were lost in bursts of flame. Brave crews sacrificing themselves to buy seconds of survival. On Earth, families watched from hidden feeds, their hearts breaking, knowing victory carried a terrible cost. Then, in the darkest moment when human losses seemed too heavy, when the Council fleet pressed hardest, a new shadow entered the field. It was the Erebus. The first human super dreadnought. The ship was a monster, larger than anything humanity had ever built. Its black hull reflected nothing. Its weapons bristled with impossible power. The Erebus was more than a warship. It was a declaration. The Council fleet paused. Their sensors screamed warnings. Their commanders shouted in disbelief, "What is that?" They demanded. But there was no time for answers. The Erebus fired a single rail slug, accelerated with power beyond imagination, crossed the void in a heartbeat. It struck the Council flagship, a vessel that had stood for centuries as a symbol of dominance. In an instant, the flagship shattered, torn apart in fire and silence. The pride of the Council was gone. The shock rippled through their fleet. Officers froze, soldiers screamed for the first time in ages. The Council felt fear. Humanity did not stop. The Erebus led the charge. Its weapons burned through ship after ship. The Black Sun fleet followed, striking with renewed strength. Every human crew knew they stood not just for Earth, but for the future of every world under the Council's shadow. The Council fleet broke. Their numbers could not save them. Their discipline could not hold. Thousands of ships turned to flee. Their commanders desperate, but humanity pursued, striking them down without mercy. The Battle of Jupiter ended with silence. Wreckage glowing like dying stars. The Council armada, once thought unstoppable, was scattered on Earth. Silence returned, but it was no longer the silence of hiding. It was the silence of victory. The galaxy trembled. Whispers turned into voices. Voices turned into roars on distant worlds. Rebellions lit their banners. "The Council bleeds," they cried. "The Council can fall." But the leaders of Earth did not celebrate. They looked beyond Jupiter, beyond victory. They knew the war was far from over. The Council would not stop, not until Earth was ashes. And humanity, in its silence, was already preparing for the next storm. The Erebus powered down its weapons, its black hull drifting like a shadow in the void. It had been born from silence, and it would carry that silence into the heart of the galaxy. The galaxy had not been silent since the Battle of Jupiter. The Council's defeat echoed across 1,000 worlds. Entire colonies whispered of Earth. Rebels painted human symbols on their walls, and smugglers spread stories that grew more dangerous with every telling. To the rulers of the Council, this was poison. Their empire had been wounded, not only in battle but in spirit. The High Council gathered again in their crystal halls. Their voices shook with rage and disbelief. "2 fleets destroyed," one shouted. "A third humiliated. How can this be?" Others accused their own commanders of weakness. Some demanded that Earth be wiped from the stars with fire and ash. But no matter how loudly they roared, the truth clawed at their pride. Earth was stronger than they had ever imagined. In secret, the survivors of Jupiter's battle spoke of a shadow, a black warship unlike any other. They spoke of its weapon, a single shot that had shattered the Council's proud flagship in an instant. They called it a nightmare, a ghost. Some even whispered a name they had intercepted from human channels, Erebus. The Council could not admit their fear. To their people, they declared, Earth used stolen technology, tricks and lies. Their victory means nothing. But in the dark halls where no one could hear, their voices trembled. They demanded spies. They demanded answers. They needed to know what humans had built on Earth. The Erebus drifted in silence near Saturn. Its black hull absorbed the light. Its weapons gleamed faintly like the teeth of a predator. Crews moved inside its endless corridors. Engineers tested its cannons. Officers walked with heavy steps, for they knew the Erebus was more than a ship. It was a secret humanity had hidden for centuries. Long ago, when humans had first reached for the stars, they discovered fragments of alien machines, wrecks left adrift, forgotten by time, while the Council dismissed them as useless. Humanity studied. They took apart engines atom by atom. They copied shield generators and remade them with their own hands. For generations, this knowledge had been hidden, passed in silence, waiting for the day it would be needed. The Erebus was the result of that silence. Its heart was a railgun that stretched the length of its body, built with metals unknown to the Council, powered by reactors humming with stolen energy cores. A single shot could split a capital ship like wood. Its shields were layered, woven from both alien science and human invention, and its hull was coated in a material that bent light itself, making the ship a ghost in the dark. But the Erebus was not alone. In the hidden shipyards of the Black Sun project, more super dreadnoughts were under construction, each one different, each one a weapon designed to terrify. Humanity had not built an empire, humanity had built a trap, and the Council had walked into it. The galaxy began to shift. Small alien factions, long crushed under the Council's boot, sent secret messages to Earth. "We will help," they whispered. "Teach us how to fight," humanity answered with caution. They knew trust was dangerous, but they also knew the Council would never stop. The whispers of rebellion grew into sparks, sparks waiting to become fire. The Council struck back in desperation, launching raids on colonies near human space, burning small settlements. But even in these acts, they found terror waiting. Human fleets appeared from nowhere, striking like wolves. Every Council raid ended with more losses. Humanity's ships seemed to know where they would be, as if Earth could hear their plans before they were made. It was not chance humanity had developed listening networks, vast webs of stolen codes and hidden satellites. They could hear the Council's pride before it spoke. They could see their fleets before they launched. Humanity was fighting not just with weapons, but with knowledge stolen in silence, and so, the galaxy whispered louder. "Humans are not weak," they said. "They are hunters. They are shadows." The fear spread deeper. In markets, traders lowered their voices when speaking of Earth in barracks. Soldiers muttered that fighting humans was a death sentence. Even some Council officers began to doubt. On Earth, leaders gathered in secret chambers. They knew their weapon was no longer hidden. The Erebus had revealed itself, the galaxy had seen. The Council would come with everything, and so they prepared for the war not just to survive, but to win. One young admiral stood before the fleet, his voice calm. "We are not fighting only for Earth," he said. "We are fighting for every world crushed under the Council's chains. When we fire our weapons, we fire for them too." His words spread among the crews, turning fear into steel. The Erebus powered up once more. Its railgun hummed. Its shields glowed faintly. Around it, the Black Sun fleet aligned. They would not wait for the Council to strike again this time. Humanity would bring the fight to the heart of the Empire. The galaxy had always believed the Council was eternal, that their rule would never end, but now, as the shadow of the Erebus stretched across the stars, the galaxy began to believe something new. Perhaps it was not the Council that was eternal. Perhaps it was humanity, silent no longer. The Council's empire had stood for millennia. Its fleet stretched across the stars. Its banners flew over countless worlds. For generations, no one had dared to resist. Those who tried were crushed, their planets burned, their names erased from memory. But after Jupiter, after the rise of the Erebus, the impossible had happened. Fear had entered the Council's heart. The galaxy trembled with whispers on distant colonies. Alien slaves spoke the name of Earth as though it were hope itself. Traitors passed secret signals. Rebels raised their hidden banners for the first time in ages. The Council's shadow was not absolute for the first time. Cracks appeared in the Empire's endless walls. The Council responded with fury. They declared Earth a plague, a cancer that must be cut out before it spread. They promised their people swift vengeance, a cleansing fire that would erase humanity forever, and so they built their greatest fleet yet. A force so vast that even the stars seemed to shiver as it gathered. At the center of this armada stood the Council's capital, a jewel of crystal and flame orbiting a bright white star. It was here they prepared to make their last stand. They believed no enemy could ever reach this sacred place. No rebellion could ever dare step into the heart of their empire. But humanity had never followed the rules of their arrogance. Humanity had never cared for the limits the Council thought eternal. From Earth, the Black Sun fleet set sail. Hundreds of ships moved in silence. Cloaked in shadow, the Erebus led the way. Its railgun charged, its black hull glowing faintly against the stars. Behind it came dreadnoughts, cruisers, and frigates, smaller but no less deadly. Together they were not just a fleet, they were a storm. The Council knew they were coming, but they did not understand. They expected fear, hesitation, delay. They thought humans would cling to their homeworld, defending it to the last. Instead, humanity carried the fight straight into the Empire's heart. The journey was long. The Black Sun fleet crossed through hostile space, ambushing patrols, tearing through defenses. Everywhere they struck, the Council's fleets collapsed. Panic spread faster than light. "The humans are coming," soldiers whispered. "They are not running, they are hunting at last." Humanity arrived at the gates of the Council's capital system. Before them waited the largest fleet ever assembled. Tens of thousands of ships filled the void, shields glowing, weapons burning. The Council had gathered everything, their pride, their rage, their fear, from the Erebus. The human admiral stared at the endless wall of ships. His crew waited, their hearts pounding. The odds were impossible. But humanity had always lived with the impossible. Humanity had always survived when survival was a dream too small. The Council's commanders broadcast their demands. Earth, surrender now. Their voices thundered across the void. Lay down your weapons, and your death will be swift. Continue this madness, and your world will be erased. Their words carried arrogance, but beneath it was the tremor of doubt. The humans did not answer. They had no need for speeches. Their silence was their defiance. Then in the endless black, the battle began. The Council unleashed their fire. Beams brighter than suns streaked across space. Thousands of missiles burned like falling stars. The void lit with explosions. The storm was overwhelming, but the humans moved like shadows. Their ships split into wings, darting between the blasts. Their stealth fields confused the enemy. Their railguns tore through ships at impossible distances. The Erebus fired once, and a Council dreadnought split in half. Its fragments spinning into the void, the Council fleet pressed harder. Sheer numbers crushing forward, human ships fell. Brave crews sacrificing everything to hold the line. The Black Sun fleet fought with fury. Every loss answered with 3 victories. Every strike chosen with precision. Humanity did not match the Council's numbers. They cut them apart with skill. Patience and fire, on the capital world below, the Council leaders watched in horror. Their mighty fleets were not invincible. Their centuries of arrogance were shattering in real time, yet still they shouted for victory. Still they ordered their ships forward. The battle raged for hours. The void became a graveyard of burning wrecks. The Council began to break. Their formations crumbled. Their commanders screamed for order, but fear was stronger than discipline. Ships fled, banners fell, pride shattered. And then the Erebus moved forward alone. It pierced the heart of the Council fleet. Its railgun charged one final time. The human admiral gave the order. The shot fired, streaking across the black. It struck the last great flagship of the Council, shattering it into light and ruin. The symbol of their eternal rule was gone. The Council's fleets scattered, some fled, others surrendered. Entire worlds saw the battle unfold and knew the truth. The Empire was falling. In the silence after the storm, the Black Sun fleet drifted in the wreckage. Humanity had done the impossible. They had taken the fight to the very core of the Empire and broken it. Across the galaxy, the whispers became roars. Rebellions rose in fire. Worlds long enslaved declared freedom. Armies once loyal to the Council turned their weapons against it. The fall had begun on Earth. Leaders spoke quietly. This is not the end. The Council is not dead yet. But they are broken. Their shadow is gone, the galaxy is changing, and we must guide it. Humanity had not fought only for survival. They had fought for a future where no empire would ever chain them again. The galaxy would never forget the day Earth's silence turned into thunder. The day the hunters became the hunted. The day the Council began to fall. The galaxy was burning, not with the fire of destruction alone, but with the fire of change. The Council, once eternal and unshakable, was collapsing. Its fleets scattered, its banners torn and its name whispered, not with fear, but with hatred for the first time in ages. The stars did not bow to one empire. In the ruins of the Council's capital system, wreckage drifted silently, blackened hulks that had once been symbols of power. The battle of the core was over. Humanity had won. The Black Sun fleet floated in the aftermath, scarred but unbroken at its center. The Erebus loomed like a shadow made flesh, silent and patient, the nightmare of the Council's pride. The galaxy trembled as the news spread. On distant worlds, chains were broken. Rebellions that had hidden in caves now marched in open streets. Armies once forced to kneel now raised their flags. In markets and alleys, in temples and palaces, the same words spread again and again. The Council bleeds. Humanity has risen, but Earth was not celebrating. Humanity knew the truth. Victory was not safety. The Council was not gone. Its leaders still lived. Scattered across secret strongholds, its soldiers still marched on countless worlds. The war was not finished. The war had only changed. In the command chambers of Earth, generals and scientists studied maps of the stars. Endless lines of enemy strongholds lit the screens. Humanity had defeated the Empire's heart, but the Empire's body still stretched wide. If we stop now, they will rebuild, one admiral said. We must strike until nothing remains, until no one dares to wear the Council's banner again. But others hesitated. If we destroy too much, we will become the same as them, a leader warned. We fight not only to survive, but to be better. Humanity must not become the new tyrant. The room fell silent. The choice was clear: humanity could end the council, but what would rise in its place? Out among the stars, the Black Sun fleet prepared again. New dreadnoughts rolled from the shipyards, each one larger, deadlier than the last. Humanity's engineers whispered of weapons that bent gravity, shields that drank fire they had built from silence, and they would build again. Yet even as they armed themselves, messages began to arrive across the galaxy. Alien worlds sent envoys to Earth. Some begged for protection, others offered alliance. A few came with warnings: if you rise too high, you will be feared as the Council was. Humanity listened, but gave no promises. They had not fought for glory. They had fought for freedom. The Erebus led the fleets into liberated space. Wherever it appeared, rebellion grew. Slaves rose in cheers, council garrisons fled. The shadow of Earth spread, not with chains, but with fire. The galaxy was changing, and no one could stop it. On one freed world, an alien child looked up at the black silhouette of a human ship and whispered. They came from silence. Her people had been chained for centuries. Now they stood free. For them, humanity was more than an ally, they were legend. But legends carry weight, and humanity felt it. Soldiers who had once fought only to defend Earth now realized they carried the hopes of countless worlds. The Black Sun fleet was no longer just Earth's shield. It was the galaxy's storm. The Council struck back where it could, raiding rebel colonies, attacking with desperation, but every strike was met with human fire. Every ambush turned into defeat. The Council's name, once eternal, now meant nothing but fear for its own people. At last, humanity stood at a choice: destroy the Council completely or let its remnants fade into memory. The admirals voted, the leaders debated, and then the order was given: strike. Humanity would not leave the shadow of tyranny alive. The final campaign began. Human fleets swept across the stars, tearing down what remained. One by one, the strongholds fell. Planets liberated, garrisons crushed, council leaders dragged from their thrones. The empire that had ruled for ages ended not with dignity, but with silence, and in that silence humanity rose. Earth stood at the center of a new galaxy, not as conqueror, but as survivor, not as tyrant, but as proof that the smallest world could challenge the greatest empire. The Council had believed arrogance was eternal. Humanity had shown that patience was stronger. The galaxy watched as Earth spoke for the first time. A message broadcast across the stars. "We are humanity," the voice declared. "We were silent, but we are silent no longer. We do not seek chains, we do not seek empires, we seek freedom, for ourselves and for all who dream of it." The words spread faster than fire, carried in hope, carried in fear. Some cheered, some doubted, some plotted, but no one ignored them. Humanity had become impossible to ignore. On the bridge of the Erebus, the admiral looked out at the stars. The war was over, but the journey was not. "The Council is gone," he whispered. "But the galaxy is wide, and it will test us again. We must be ready." His crew nodded, their eyes steady, for they knew silence was never truly gone, it only waited. And so the galaxy turned, the age of the Council ended. The age of humanity began. Not with arrogance, not with endless pride, but with fire born from silence. The stars would never forget, the galaxy would never forgive, and Earth would never be silent again.